So by way of introduction, I'm Cynthia Davis. I'm your host for this afternoon. I'm the Chief Exec and founder of Bain Recruitment and also the co-founder of Diversifying. And we've been working with eBay now for coming up to almost 2 years now, which time's gone very quickly. And our partnership with eBay has been one where we've really been working together with them as they go on this journey of being more inclusive as an organization and just seeing some of the incredible work and initiatives that they have as an organization. And for us, it's truly been amazing to be part of that and to support them along the way. So you've definitely come into the right place if you wanted to find out all things eBay beyond just what you know. And we're delighted to have two panelists that will be sharing their story. So before I introduce our panelists, just the format of how this is going to run, we've got roughly about 45 minutes. Of which 30 minutes will be to talk to our wonderful panelists about themselves, their backgrounds, and then we'll leave 15 minutes towards the end for Q&A. But if there's anything that you want to ask as we're talking, please feel free to put it in the chat, and I will make sure I'll try and read as many of the questions in the chat before we finish today. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my two wonderful panelists, Claire and Faisal. Hello, Claire and Faisal, welcome.
Hi.
Hey, everyone.
Brilliant. Just by way of introduction, would you give a little bit of introduction about who you are, the role that you do within eBay for everybody that's on here?
Yeah, sure, Faisal, shall I kick on?
Go for it.
Yeah, so as I said, I'm Claire. So Claire Smith, work in the eBay marketing team. So I am a mummy and a marketeer. So I live with my wife and nearing 15-month-old daughter, Luna. And as I say, sit in the marketing team at eBay. So just a bit about my background and how I got to where I am today. So I started my career at 3M. For anyone sat there wondering who 3M are, they make post-it notes amongst lots of other things that you'll see in your everyday. I then moved to Sky and then to eBay, where I've been for nearly, well, actually I'm here now 4 years. It was 4 years this week. So 4 years at eBay and nearly 10 years in marketing and definitely still learning something new every single day. So I've been in quite a few different roles at eBay, which is definitely the huge benefit of being in a big corporate. So started as a marketing manager in tech, looking at that side of the business. Then my role expanded to include horizontal moments. So when you see the big campaigns like Black Friday and Christmas, it then expanded again to include incentives. So thinking about how we show up to customers by way of coupons, amongst other things. I then moved roles, took a slightly different path to focus on propositions, which is what I'm doing today, and I'll tell you a bit more about in a minute, and then expanded again to also include performance marketing. So my current remit is both propositions and performance. For anyone on the call thinking, what is propositions? Which is a very, very valid question. I lead the team that essentially shapes what we say to our 20 million customers every day. So thinking about how we show up across value, how we show up as a marketplace, and how we think about community, so small business, etc., and oversee the go-to-market plans for those initiatives. And then I guess one extra thing, Faisal, before handing to you, alongside my day job, I'm also the chair of United in Pride Community of Inclusion. So there's lots of different communities of inclusion at eBay, of which United in Pride is one that I very passionately lead. So really thinking about how we foster a really strong LGBTQ+ and allies community within eBay to ensure that we have a richly diverse workplace and support the well-being of all of our LGBTQ+ members. So lots of work that goes on with that too. Hopefully that was all good. Faisal, over to you for your intro.
Thanks. My name is Faisal. I work in the brand marketing team. So I'll get to what my role is in a second, but I started my career as a journalist, and I mainly worked in tech, writing about iPhone launches and various other things. I then moved into content and content management, which is very similar in terms of you're creating copy and text and so on, but used in different ways. And I managed to find my way to eBay, where I started as a content manager, writing and editing the help pages on eBay, which was, as you can imagine, not a very fulfilling role, given that I wanted to, I felt I was better than just editing help pages. I then managed to take a few risks and change direction of what I wanted to do, and somehow went from that role to SEO, and then from SEO to social media. I managed social media for just over 5 years, and when I started, it wasn't considered a role, or it wasn't considered marketing. It was considered something that you just do as a bit of fun. And back then, you only really had Facebook and a couple of other social sites that, if I name them, you'll know roughly how old I am, because they don't exist anymore. But and that kind of spurred my career, to be honest, because my career grew as social media grew, and I learned a lot about myself and my skills, and what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. And from there, I then continued to work on social, but moved into more brand marketing and how eBay comes across as a brand and how you feel about eBay. And with that, one of the successes that I had on social was partnerships. So partnering with the likes of Disney and Warner Brothers around big film releases, and driving engagement and content on social media channels to try and make them viral and successful, which then led me into partnerships, which is about half of what I do today, whereby I work with lots of different brands, and we look at how we can partner in really smart and creative ways to raise the awareness of both brands, and how we can show up unexpectedly and in a fun and exciting, creative way. The other half of my job is around building the brand, so building the eBay brand and what eBay actually means to people. So if you were to walk up to someone in the street and ask them what they thought about eBay, that is the sharp end of what we're trying to achieve. So what do the colors that we use mean to people? What does the messaging mean? How do we come across in our advertising? If we say a certain thing, what does that mean to people when they are linking that to eBay? And part of that is to try and bring to life the emotional connection that people have with our platform. So they have a very functional, rational connection, which is based upon their experience of using the site or ordering items, but how do they feel about eBay on an emotional level? We are trying to position ourselves as a people-powered platform, a platform for everyone. Does that come across? Do people feel that? Is that something that through our marketing they have an affiliation with our brand around? Otherwise, I'm a father of 2 lovely kids. My wife is in the next room, so I'll try and make sure I don't say anything bad or wrong. I am in the United in Pride group with Claire. I'm also part of the BAME group and various other D&I groups at eBay. And I don't lead any. I have led before, but at the moment it's around contributing to try and drive diversity in all forms. So there's one of the things that I try and look at is how having a diverse staff mix can contribute to diverse thoughts, which in my line of work is really important. So if you're bringing people from different backgrounds and cultures with different ideas, it means the output of my work and what we do is much richer, because we're able to use that diversity of thought into a creative sense.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, thank you both for that wonderful explanation of your careers. And I have to say, one of the things that, stood out for me is how you've both navigated your careers. So, from what you started to what you're doing now, you've gone through a number of different kind of directions. What advice would you give for anyone who's thinking about a career in marketing, or somebody who's maybe in currently working within marketing, but just kind of feels a bit stuck and trying to navigate, into a different direction, what advice would you give them, and how was that for you to move up or move across in your careers?
Claire, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. So I think for me, it's really about thinking what matters to you and what it is that you really love, and then making your own path, essentially. So if you're on a path that you don't like the destination of, like, step off it and find something else. But within that, you really need to know kind of in yourself what matters and what's important. So I think being clear on that, both in the short term, but also, to be honest, in the longer term of where you see yourself and where you want to go. I think lots of people have spoken to me in the past about not just thinking about kind of what's your next job, but what's the next job, or further down the line of where you want to get to, because ultimately each step that you take will take you towards that. So I think, as I say, a couple of things: kind of own your own destiny, I guess, and be clear on what you want to do and where you want to go, and then follow that with passion and determination.
Yeah, and I can add to that: be honest with yourself about what you're good at and what you're not good at. Be honest with yourself in terms of what you're happy doing, what you're comfortable doing. Find people that in a work capacity will be honest with you about what your skills are, what value you can bring. Then bring those things together to find the things that you're happiest doing, things that you're good at, and things that actually brings value to your role. Once you've done that, you'll find that making those choices around your career are a lot easier. And actually, you may need to take risks. You may need to make a decision that is a tough decision for one reason or another. Obviously, managed risk. Not in the case where it's going to jeopardize your family life or your home life or anything like that. But I've taken plenty of risks, and some worked out, some didn't, but I'm quite happy with where I've got to. And that was based around the skills that I believe I have and how I can contribute positively to a workplace environment.
Fantastic, brilliant. Thank you so much for that. And it's you're both right in terms of that kind of feedback, and it's really finding something that you really are genuinely passionate about and how to kind of navigate that. And I think one of the things that really shown through from both your experiences is just how much eBay has been able to give you both that access to climb up and try different things, to find that passion and things that you're able to look and progress in. One of the things you touched on, Faisal, was around the importance of bringing people from different kind of backgrounds and diversity, which is obviously something that we're very passionate about. And I know eBay are, again, an organization that's really leading in terms of creating that amazing inclusive culture. And it's great to hear both Claire talking around, the networks that you've got. How does eBay support people from different kind of backgrounds coming in? I mean, are you able to just expand a little bit about the different communities that you have within the organization?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, eBay is not different to any organization that you would see on the surface. But there's a consciousness around what diversity brings that we have in the company. And that's definitely been accelerated in the past couple of years. I think when I first joined, the main driver that I loved was when I walked through the office for my interview. Back then, and this is 9 years ago, if you were from a different background, you would have a flag on your desk to represent the country that you were from, and it was optional whether you had that. And that struck me as this being a different company and a different way of thinking, and just that simple gesture made me feel like it was more accepting and people were proud of who they were. And I've seen various evidence of that. Claire and I are very active in lots of different groups, but how these groups are celebrated and showcased makes you feel more at ease. But don't get me wrong, every company, every walk of life, and in society there are still challenges that we're trying to overcome. But I feel like the reason that I've stayed at eBay for so long, and the reason that I see myself staying here for the foreseeable future, is because of that conscious acknowledgement of those challenges that society faces and how we can tackle them and bring positivity. You know, in previous jobs, I've been perceived as someone that does things differently, and sometimes that can have a very negative connotation. At eBay, I've found that those differences that I may have, which are, I believe, rooted in my culture and my upbringing, are seen positively. And it's like I said, it's a way of bringing diversity of thought and bringing different people together. You know, not everything's perfect, but I definitely look at myself as making a success of that. And genuinely, there's been times where I've felt maybe I needed to leave eBay, but when I've looked at other companies just on the surface or speaking to people, that culture has been missing. And that culture is more important to me than almost most facets of what a job has. I'd happily take a pay cut if I felt that the culture was right for me and it was a place that I felt comfortable working in. Whereas other places, they may pay you a bit more, but they don't have that culture. You're not going to last there very long.
Yeah, brilliant. And absolutely perfect to hear that. And I think you are right. The culture, and it's how do you retain people? How do you make sure that they feel it is an environment where they can succeed and they can thrive and they can grow? And it's, you know, for me, I think those are really key important things that anyone thinking of making a career move or coming into any organization will want to know about. It would just be great to kind of just find out, you know, and it's brilliant that you touched on what you're currently doing, but it would be great to hear a fun fact that people might not know about what it's like to work within a marketing function within eBay.
I can go, Faisal. I guess you might say some similar things, but I will go. I don't know if it's necessarily a fun fact. I didn't think of a fun one, but a fact definitely about working in the marketing team, which does make it fun. So I guess it links. But which you may expect from an e-commerce organization in the middle of navigating a global pandemic, but it is super fast-paced, and no one day is the same. So I think it kind of comes back to diversity, right? But there's diversity in every sense. So diversity in terms of what we do, diversity in terms of what faces us each day. There's differences in what we talk about. So one day we might be talking about how eBay is going to show up about all of our support for small businesses, for example, whereas the next day we might be talking about sustainability and how eBay drives the circular economy, whereas the next day we might be talking about how we chat about value by virtue of brand outlet or some of our other value-centered propositions. So definitely no one day is the same would be my big call out, I think, for the marketing team, and probably all of eBay as well. But Faisal, I'm not sure if you have another slightly more fun one to add, and I'll try and think of something more fun.
I don't know if it's more fun, but I think that I don't know if this is this probably isn't fun, but I think the one thing that I find is our job and what we do and the output of our work is the very literal touch point for customers. You know, especially at eBay, where we don't actually produce any products that people can physically hold. Our job is representing the business and how people engage with us. So when I talked about that emotional connection to our work, it's very difficult when you don't have a physical product. You know, Coca-Cola changed their branding of the cans and, you know, all sorts of different things all the time and Amazon do it really successfully with the cardboard boxes. I mean, if I'd have told you that the biggest brand in the world had built their brand around cardboard boxes, you wouldn't have believed it, but they've created something incredible. Whereas ours is very theoretical, metaphorical, it's very it's not as tangible. So we have to constantly think about the customers, and we have so many customers, and it always surprises me the things that we go through and the impact that we have through the things that we do. Sometimes, you know, we're sat on Zoom calls all day, and it's quite easy to forget that actually there's all these people that we're affecting. But it's also what makes it wonderful when you go outside and you hear people, or you're watching a TV show and they talk about the brand that you're working for, and you feel like you've had an influence on it.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And I had never kind of quite thought of in the sense that you not having a physical product, how that would impact from a marketing perspective. So nicely pointed, especially about the cardboard boxes. Yeah, it's quite unusual, isn't it? But fantastic. And obviously this session is for anyone that's thinking of getting into marketing, or people that currently have jobs within marketing, but looking for, to either move up. What opportunities are there currently within eBay that you're able to kind of talk to us about for anybody that might be thinking of making a move?
Should I go first, Basil? As I said in my intro, so I lead the propositions team, so it'll probably be no surprises to all of you that I am recruiting for roles in propositions. So lots of exciting roles that have recently opened up in propositions. So we have 2 props manager roles. One of them is centered on C2C and sustainability. So really how we show up about driving that circular economy piece that I mentioned before, and all of the amazing stories and things that you hear about people selling on eBay to each other. So really centered on that. We then have another one that's also a product manager role focused on value. So I mentioned brand outlet. We have lots of other value propositions. So certified refurb for anyone who saw that launched recently, brand outlet, home. eBay is the destination for value, right? So a really exciting role there on how we speak about that to customers. And then we have a props exec role, which is supporting on what we call very corporate language, but interest driven propositions. So an example of that is sneakers. So again, hopefully you guys may have seen in the press that we have launched sneakers authentication. So really getting involved again in how we show up to niche audiences often in those spaces. I guess in the broader sense, just a bit more about propositions. It's just thinking about how we show up as a loved and trusted marketplace, and then thinking about how we develop those propositions. I think Faisal's mentioned it, but very much with customer insight at the heart. So what do we know about customers? Where do they shop? How do they shop? What do they do? And really using that insight to help build those propositions and make the most compelling messages possible to then pass on to Faisal's team, as well as other teams, to really make them happen and bring them to life for customers. So yes, two props manager roles, an exec role, and then actually we're shortly opening a contract proposition exec role as well. So lots of exciting roles in the props team, working across every single thing you can imagine. Cynthia, you did ask for a fun fact. I think the other fun fact is, as I said, I think I referenced it earlier, but eBay has 29 million customers, which is a ginormous number in itself. But if you really think about that, that's essentially in every household in the country. So the true scale of who we're speaking to, as Faisal mentioned, is quite staggering even for me who works at eBay. It still blows my mind when I think just how many people we touch in all of the things that we market. So with that in itself comes huge diversity, both of what those customers need, behaviors, motivations, barriers. In a way, it couldn't get more complex, but we have lots of things we can talk about. Again, not necessarily a fun fact, but if you think about it, eBay does largely sell everything, which means we can talk about everything to 29 million people, which is pretty amazing. At the same time, brings a few challenges in deciding what the right thing to talk about is, but that's really where the propositions team sits in what messages are we going to say to all of our different customers.
Wow. I'm still trying to get over that 29 million in terms of a figure. That's staggering. I'd never kind of thought it was that big, but yeah, I mean, if you think of it in the sense of pretty much being in every household, that's crazy, but exciting as well. So you did have a fun fact, Claire. Brilliant. Faisal, any opportunities coming up within your side of your marketing team?
Yes, there's one that's currently live, which is a social strategist role. So that role sits within the social media team, and it's all about understanding how we use social media channels, how do we use different formats. Social is a constantly changing and evolving space, and we are looking to grow the team because of it. The role is to not focus on the executions and not the creative assets that are being produced, but it's more around taking a step back and looking at the overall landscape of what we do on our social channels, how we do it, and where we do it. So for example, Pinterest is typically a social channel centered around home. So how do we use that for our different initiatives that Claire and her team will come to us? So if we're launching something in the home space, then how do we use Pinterest to effectively communicate our messaging? And similarly with other channels. So obviously TikTok has completely exploded in the past year or two. How do we have a strong presence on these platforms? How do we have an authentic presence? How we treat each social channel differs wildly. So it's around someone being able to look at that changing landscape and understanding eBay's role within those different channels. But I mean, that's one role. Honestly, roles come up and all the time, and the team has been in a good place in terms of we're continuing to expand. So, even if that role doesn't suit any of the ones that Claire said, definitely keep checking back because there's things being added all the time.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be putting some links into the chat later on so people can follow up in terms of see what other opportunities are currently available within the marketing function at eBay. But no, that's really great to get an overview of the type of roles that anybody could come in and apply for. So I'm just conscious that we're coming up to our Q&A session. So if anyone's got any questions they would like to ask our panelists, please feel free to put them in the chat, or if you want to put your hand up, I think there's a hand up function, so we will be able to try and do that. But before we kind of go to the Q&A session, just one last piece of advice from each of you around anybody that's thinking about joining eBay. Why should they join? And why did you guys join, and what keeps you there?
I think we've probably already covered this a few times just around people, so it feels like I'm repeating, but genuinely, I think Faisal mentioned a people-powered marketplace, and that's very much centered in the eBay purpose, empowering opportunity for all. And I think eBay absolutely, in addition to kind of that big corporate purpose, is absolutely a people place. And I think if you speak to lots and lots of people at eBay and ask them why they're still there. So I've been at eBay, as I said, 4 years. Faisal is beating me with 9, but most people would say the reason that they've stayed is absolutely because of the people. It's a great place to work. Work is a lot of everyone's days, right? And if you don't have great people alongside you, it's never quite as fun. So it's just a really supportive place to be, as well as we kind of referenced, I always feel like I belong and kind of can be myself 100% of the time at work, which I think just makes a huge difference. So yeah, definitely my call out would be all about the people.
Perfect. And Faisal, any advice anyone wanting to apply?
I think if you are happy working in a fast-paced environment where change is constant, and that sounds like a negative, but that's also what has kept me here for so long. In that, before I joined eBay, I changed roles every year or 2 maximum. Most of the roles I had were 1 year. Then I joined eBay and I thought it would be the same thing. I thought I'd only be here for a year. But the opportunities you get to work on different things, the challenges that you have it sounds awful, but they're addictive. Like you get into a point where you want to be challenged constantly, and you want to learn, and you want to be able to find different opportunities. And when I think about my career, or even some of my colleagues, it's incredible to have those opportunities when in other companies they would have said, well, you don't have this, or you don't have that, or made reasons as to why you couldn't do something. Whereas at eBay, you're given some freedom, and you can find out whether you are good at something or not. And actually, it's fine if you try something and it doesn't work out. I had a young member of staff who joined, and she was given a project and she said, I don't know this and I don't know that. Why have I been given this? And it's like, it's not whether you do know something or not. You're fairly early in your career. There's a lot of things that you won't have experienced. It's whether you can do it or not. And if you can do it, no one cares. Everybody's just happy that you're doing the work. If you feel you can't do it, then you either get supported to do it, or you stop doing it and hand to someone else. But it's that environment where, people always think we've got 29 million customers with this massive brand, we must have thousands of people that work in the business, when I think we've only got a couple of hundred managing the whole of the UK and those 29 million customers. So there's plenty of opportunities and challenges that you can take on and develop your career in.
Perfect. I can see the chat going kind of quite crazy on here, so I'm trying to see the questions as they kind of come up. So I'll try and read some of these and see if we can get some answers. So you've answered a great one around the wider roles, and also around opportunity to kind of progress within eBay, which is great. There's a question here around regarding the marketing exec and proposition role that's available. Would candidates with sort of sales experience and some kind of marketing operations be considered for such a role?
Yeah, so on that one, I think for the propositions role, we are really keen to find someone, or people even, because there's multiple roles, but who have some level of proposition experience. But that's definitely not to say, as Faisal just alluded to there, that there won't be other roles in eBay that might be of interest. So again, the joy and the benefit of eBay is that we have so many different parts to the business, right? So ads, GCX, like so many other spaces, that even if the props role wasn't right, the trading team, lots of other teams that have roles that might match better with specific experience. But really, I guess I'd encourage anyone to kind of, we are looking for like relevant work experience, but really just take a look at the job descriptions and think about what you're looking for and see whether that aligns. So hopefully that's helpful.
Perfect. And again, somebody was just talking around marketing kind of qualifications. Is this a prerequisite for anyone looking to join the marketing team within eBay? I think, Faisal, you touched on the experience part, but do they need to have the qualification to be able to come into the team?
I guess it depends on the role and the team, to be honest. If it's a more entry-level role, then I don't think it's I don't think there's a mandatory that you have to have a marketing qualification. I don't have a marketing qualification. I studied English, so from that point of view, I don't think it's a prerequisite. No. Obviously, if you're applying for a more senior, more experienced marketing role, it's not necessarily your qualification, but what your experience is.
Perfect. And in terms of kind of career development, is there a way for people to enroll in certain kind of industry certified courses as a way to maybe further that education if they wanted to?
I'm sure there is. To be honest, I think you got to think about what it is that you want to do and what skills you want to develop. If you were hiring yourself, and what would you want to hear? What's more valuable to an employer? Sometimes doing courses is great. Other times doing courses don't actually get you what you want, in all honesty. So if you want to show that you are a creative individual, for example, going on a course around creativity will probably help. Actually showcasing how you have been creative or how you can do things that are creative is far more powerful. But if you want to show how you have the knowledge of SEO, for example, or something that's more science-based, then definitely doing a course is going to be more helpful. So I guess it depends on the skill and the role that you want to go for. Perfect.
And then I've got question. All the questions are coming in now, so I'm just trying to read them as they come in. And there's a question around people coming from advertising backgrounds, working on brand strategies and propositions. Would they fit into the profile of a propositions manager?
Yeah, so I think kind of the key thing on the propositions role is really thinking about the strategic piece, to be honest, and how we develop that strategy for our propositions. So it's difficult to say without seeing a CV, but definitely strategic thought is kind of a key skill that we're looking for in the propositions space. So definitely have a look at the job description and apply if you think, as I say, it matches your experience. But yeah, strategic thought is absolutely one of the key things we're thinking about, because as I say, you're taking things often from idea all the way through to how we show up in front of customers, so who those customers are, how those customers shop, as I say, like really diving into insights. So it's really taking something and developing it from a strategic standpoint from the start to something that will then appear in Faisal team and show up to 29 million customers on TV or somewhere else.
Fantastic, brilliant. And there's another question here for somebody who's an international graduate who studied at British University but looking for opportunities in the UK. Would eBay offer those opportunities to international graduates at all?
I'm not sure. I think so. We've had people work for eBay UK that have come from abroad, definitely. I don't know the details of what that entails, but I think we're always looking for the right candidate, to be honest. And whether you're abroad or not, if we feel that you're the right person for the role, there are ways of making it work.
Perfect. And just in terms of you working kind of patterns, I think obviously at the moment most people are working a little bit more flexibly. What does eBay offer in terms of a work pattern? So
I think Faisal and I are both, well, we are definitely both dialing in from our homes. I think the pandemic has definitely changed things. So we've been at home since last March. So without going overly generic, I think the world of work has changed for everyone, right? And I think it's going to look different moving forward. There isn't yet a commitment on the eBay side of what that looks like, because everything's still changing, right? But I think it's safe to say that it will look more like a hybrid model than it has in the past. So definitely supportive of being flexible. As I said, I have a young daughter who I drop at nursery in the morning. If I need to go and pick her up because she's hit her head or fallen over or just isn't very happy, there's definite flexibility to do all of those things. So yeah, I think the world of work honestly has just changed dramatically in a post-pandemic world. But eBay, yes, is very supportive of a flexible way of doing that, I guess, to make sure that people can balance home and work.
Perfect, great. Just trying to make sure I haven't missed out any kind of key questions on here that are coming through. And just finally, kind of last question before we kind of wrap up. I'm just conscious of time, but there's somebody here who's got about 20 plus years in NFP and social entrepreneurship, who is from a fundraising and event management background. Is eBay a place that somebody with this experience could come into?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's, I don't know the details of your experience, but it sounds very good. I don't know if they suit the roles that we mentioned, but I think there's two factors. There's a few factors, right? Your experience, your skills, and so on, and who you are as a person. Claire and I can attest to that. Over the years, we've seen people who come in who have the right experience, but they don't fit in the culture of what we've described today, and they don't tend to last long, in all honesty. I think people who aren't a people person, who aren't supportive of each other, and I'm not saying whoever wrote that isn't, but I just mean that experience sounds great, but there's multiple factors into why we employ people and why they're successful. But yeah, definitely, that sounds like you've got great experience. To be honest, whoever that is, well done.
Great, yeah, and I think just another note on here to say that there's a great range of backgrounds And advice would be to take a good look at each of the roles and see what they're requiring for people to come in. But again, as we've been posting on the chat, if you want to see all the roles at eBay, do feel free to click into the links that we've provided in the chat, so you'll be able to see a lot more roles in detail and actually have a chance to read the job descriptions. And if they are of interest, do apply. Or if you don't find anything that's interest, do email us as well at info@Bain Recruitment, and we can forward your details onto the team at eBay, who will be able to kind of keep you updated as and when suitable roles come through.
Sorry, Cynthia, there was one question I just saw about how critical local experience is for the UK from Nitin. It's not a case of local experience in the UK, it's more about understanding the customer. So last year I interviewed a woman who was, she's based in the US, but she'd only been there for a year. And previously, I think she was based in somewhere in Asia. And she was really worried about whether she would actually progress because of her lack of knowledge of the UK. But what she showed was an incredible understanding of the eBay customer, and empathy is something that's massively underrated. She showed real empathy towards our customers and what their needs are, and that trumped having other candidates who may have been living in the UK for many years. So what I would say is don't think about these things that can hold you back. Think about the things that can drive you forward.
Perfect. And just one last kind of question to each of you, for anyone that's maybe has been listening to all the amazing things that are happening at eBay and wants to put in an application. What are the key things that you guys look for on applications that they can focus to make sure that the applications stand out? Just some tips that you can give anybody who's thinking of applying for the roles you've talked about.
I think probably the specific requirements for each will probably vary a little bit, but I guess in terms of the people side, which I know we've said quite a few times, but mainly because genuinely it is really important at eBay, but is this real passion for the customer and how they think about taking like a customer first approach and like customer-led decision making, I'd say. So we really are thinking a lot about the customer. So I think that's probably my first one. My second one is like kind of showcase how you've built relationships and just showcase really strong communication, because at the end of the day we're a big corporate with teams all around the world that we work with. At the same time, the team is small in relative terms to some other companies. So I came from Sky, where there were 5,000 people in the building. So I came to eBay and thought it was significantly smaller, despite its huge size. But within that, it's absolutely key to build really, really strong relationships across the business. So I'd say experience in building relationships and just communication is key. And I'm probably not a surprise, given my fun fact was that everything changes and it's really fast paced. I think like times that you've delivered under pressure and how you've excelled, I guess, in a really dynamic and fast-paced environment, again, is super interesting for us to hear, because, as I say, e-commerce company who sell everything and have 29 million customers is pretty guaranteed that stuff changes a lot, and stuff changes a lot for our customers, right? So I think that ability to jump on whatever's happening and have a really proactive, positive mindset in that is also really important.
Yeah. I'll echo kind of what I mentioned before. Think about where you put your time and effort. You know, there are certain things that you may, if there's something you're not good at or you're not comfortable with, you may put a huge amount of time and effort in and not actually drive that much. You know, you might not actually be able to shift things, you know, but if you're honest with yourself about what you're good at and what you like to do, and you put your energy into that, you'll find it far more fulfilling. And in terms of finding how that connects to finding the job, if you think about those skills, and if you apply to and go for roles that value those skills, then you'll not only find the job that you like, but you'll find the career that really suits you and that you can really thrive in. So specifically on the social strategy role that I spoke about, it's all about someone who can have who has strategic thinking, someone who knows the social channels incredibly well, and someone who's able to take that step back and look at how we can do things better and what the best way of going about things for our social channels. It's a difficult role because the things that I've mentioned, they're not easy, but for the right person, it's an incredible role. I really mean that. I worked in social for so long, and that's the kind of thing that when you find the right person that can do it, that sets up your career, because that kind of thinking it fits like a glove with a role like this.
Fantastic, brilliant. Well, I hope everyone's been encouraged by what you've heard, and you know, you've all got a better understanding of what it's like to work within the marketing department, eBay, and there's obviously some amazing opportunities that are there. And if there isn't anything now, do keep an eye out, because as you've heard, it is fast moving. They've got 29 million customers. We're looking to make sure that you know, I'm sure they're going to keep growing. So yeah, for anyone that's liked what they've heard today and thinks eBay is the, you know, their next destination in terms of career, do please put in an application, or just reach out to us if you want to have a conversation with somebody within the talent teams. We'll be happy to put you in touch with them. But it just leaves me to say thank you so much to Claire and to Faisal for just being so honest and open about your experiences. It's been amazing to hear your journey, just how you've grown, progressed, moved up, moved sideways, moved everywhere, and just the opportunities are endless. And I think for anybody who wants to come in and grow, you know, Faisal, your experience has been a great example of how somebody can come in, even if it's just for a short time, but actually love it so much they end up staying and they end up moving it across the business in so many different roles. So hopefully that's given everybody some insight into what you can expect, you know, as a possible career within eBay, and the type of organization. For me, it's hearing more about the culture and the people and the way that you support those from different backgrounds and the different communities that you have, that you've created to make sure that everybody feels valued. You know, I think anybody who was maybe not aware of that, I think that's given them more kind of confidence to think, actually, this is a company I'd like to work for. So hopefully we'll see loads of you applying for these amazing opportunities. But just leaves me to say thank you to everyone who's attended, who's taken the time to join us and hear more about it. And thank you, Claire and Faisal, again. It was really amazing to hear your stories, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And the contact details are on the chat if anybody wants to look at the roles straight after this. So do click on the roles. But yeah, have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for joining us. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Good luck.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.